get started with today's episode, I would like to quickly read you our podcast disclaimer. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and it is not to substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. You should always speak with your physician or other healthcare professionals before doing any fasting, changing your diet in any way, taking or adjusting any medications or supplements, or adopting any treatment plan for a health problem. The use of any other products or services purchased by you as a result of this podcast does not create a healthcare provider-patient relationship between you and any of the experts affiliated with this podcast. Any information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All right, and now we'll get started with today's episode.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Dr. Terri Lance, and this is a bite-sized episode of the Fasting Method podcast. Today, I wanted to share something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I have had many discussions in community groups in the fasting community, as well as with individual clients. And I thought it would be helpful for me to share some insights of my own experience and even some others to help kind of normalize people's experiences. And what I wanted to really dig into is the idea that oftentimes you see people maybe in the Facebook group, or if you are in the fasting community, in our membership community, you listen to people in large community groups, or you listen to the coaches talk, or you listen to us here in the podcast, and it may almost seem like we're all describing that this fasting and eating the right foods is simple, is easy, happens without thought. I wanted to dispel that myth because oftentimes when people are struggling, they listen to people who have already succeeded or are further along in the journey, and it makes them feel like maybe something's wrong with them that they're struggling. The fact that they have cravings at all, or the fact that they would still want to eat problematic food when they do break their fast, sometimes makes them feel like they're broken. Something just isn't going to work for them. Clearly, they are different from these other people who have succeeded. So I wanted to, like I said, dispel this, break this myth that it's not that it's easy. It's that even though it's challenging, each of us, for whatever reason, found the motivation to push a little more. And it doesn't mean that every fast we attempted has been successful, or that every time we eat, it is exactly on target with the foods that work best for our body. So if you are comparing yourself to people that you see before and after pictures of in the Facebook group, or people who come and share their transformational stories here in the podcast, or if you're a member in the community and you're sitting in some of those meetings in awe of some of the accomplishments people have already attained, I really hope that you will take this message at heart that we have all struggled. We have all had our different difficulties with this journey, and hopefully, we've each had some parts of this journey that have gone really easily because this helps us, this motivates us, this makes it feel more doable. But like I said, I want you not to think that people who have already accomplished their goals possess some kind of attribute that you don't. It is challenging to change a lifestyle. There are so many books written about habit change and creating the lifestyle that you want. There are so many TED Talks on how to improve these kinds of things. This is because it's not easy. If it were simple, we wouldn't need any TED Talks. We wouldn't need any podcasts. We wouldn't need any self-help books. We would all just do this intuitively. But changing your lifestyle is complicated. Not only is it complicated because you have to work on your internal messaging, how you talk to yourself, what beliefs you are paying attention to and believing or dispelling. You have to work on which habits you're going to focus on. You're going to work on a reward system that works for you, something that keeps you on track. Not only, though, are you dealing with this internal dialogue and internal decision-making process, but you are also navigating a lot of other environments. You're navigating personal relationships, whether that be family members, friends, colleagues, support groups, whoever in your life. Oftentimes, they don't understand your struggle. They don't maybe understand about fasting or about eating certain ways. And so they may be critical. They may have lots of opinions that don't mesh well with what you're learning. And so you're having to navigate that on top of, again, your internal dialogue and your own behaviors and habits and things. You also then may be interacting with medical professionals around these topics. And again, we're going to run into a lot of different beliefs, a lot of different takes on what works and what doesn't work, and what is safe and what isn't safe. So that gets added in on top of the other people that you're navigating, and again, on top of your own internal experience that you're navigating. So please don't ever let my story or another coach's story or another community member's story tell you that something is wrong with you, that only if you were more like us, you would then succeed. We are all just like you. We have struggles. We have things that we do well, and we have things that are very challenging for us. Finding the right motivation, finding the right thing that helps us stay connected to our goals and stay connected to our changing of patterns and lifestyle. These are the tricks that we're all still working on. So for example, I don't fast all of the time. I go through periods of time where I do some fasting, and then periods of time where I focus more just on time-restricted eating and eating the right foods. The past couple of weeks, I started fasting. Some of you know I had an injury recently, and I'm working on increasing some autophagy for continued bone healing over these next couple of months. And so I started fasting again. For me, that means I started working on 42-hour fast. It's actually, they've looked more like 36 or 38-hour fasts, which is new to me. But my lifestyle is a little different now than it was in the past when I fasted most frequently. At that point, the 42 hours just fit my lifestyle better, and now 36 to 38 really seems to fit. But even with that, I had to build back up to it. I had to work to really clean up my TRE, and then I had to work to get to some 24-hour fasts and beyond until I can do alternate day fasting. But last week, on my second fast of the week, around noon, I walked out into the living room. I left my office here where I do my TFM work, and I walked out into the living room and I told my partner, I just don't want to fast anymore. I sounded like a kind of whiny kid. I just didn't want to do it. And just to express that was enough for me to regroup and remind myself of all of the reasons why fasting was really best for me right now, why it was important to me. And I had to think through a lot of my mental tricks that I have learned over the years. And one of those is I had to think about, how will I feel in a couple of months if I don't do this? And I've experienced this far too often. If I don't do it in a couple of months, I'm going to question why not. Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I use this time? Because the time passed anyway. Why didn't I dig in and do this thing that could help me heal? My goal is to get back out on the ski slopes this winter. I am a fairly new skier, and I'm excited about that. But I have broken bones that I want to heal so that I can do that. So this fasting is really valuable to me, but I had to remind myself, because my lower brain in this moment doesn't think fasting is fun. It doesn't think this is something I want to keep doing. And I had to reconnect with my why. I had to reconnect with all of the things that doing this will help me with in my health and in my lifestyle. So please don't hear my success or anyone else's success as meaning you have to have something special in order to do this. You have knowledge, you have support. If you don't have support, come and get some support. But please don't think that you're broken and that you can't do this. Everyone I know has struggled with their fasting. Every coach, if you ask them individually, tell me the hardest fast you did. Did you ever break a fast when you weren't planning to? Did you ever eat something problematic when you were fasting? We're all going to share our stories with you. We all have struggled, but we kept going and we found our way to keep going. So please take this to heart. Remember, as Coach Nadia always says, we're not aliens, we're just human beings. And doing what we're doing here, reversing health conditions and releasing excess body fat and resolving insulin resistance, going against the norm of what we've all been taught to do is challenging. Until next time, I hope you do well, and I look forward to talking to you soon.